Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Franchise Pearson, and welcome again to my channel. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, the 30th of December. I have 10:50 in the a.m. Yes, the 30th. One more day, and Happy New Year. Let's say it together. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. And yes, and yes, and yes. Let's stay covered in the blood of Jesus. And let's ask Him for angels. I said it and I meant it. And I'm responding to somebody who asked why I asked for angels. I don't think people understand who Christ is or what He died for and how you help maintain your authority as you navigate through this thing called earth and life. Angels have been instrumental all throughout the Bible and in our lives. God utilizes them to assist us, and you can call upon them. There is a biblical psychological illiteracy out here, and I am convinced, I am so convinced that people are ready for the Antichrist. Yesterday was hell on earth for me, but I got through it. I literally cried. It hurt. I'm not going to get into it. But I ached again. It's part of my journey. I go through those things. Because the devil got mad at me because I did something yesterday. I presented a video yesterday. This one here. Nick Shervin, I've been here before and decided to abandon the story. As you guys know, there isn't a major media outlet or even major content creator that isn't talking about what's going on in Minnesota. I told you. This is what I broke way back in the day. I broke this story. Then I had to back off. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young and I was less brown hungry. But thank God I had elders around me in the business that sat me down and guided me. I received letters from Navy and Army and Marines telling me about this and how it was being set up overseas, that I had no idea what I was dealing with. And I didn't. If you are in this business and you are an independent journalist, you have no idea what you done stepped into. You need seasoned people around you when you deal with international affairs. You need, I don't care how old you are, when you get into this business and you deal with international affairs, you need seasoned people. You need a board, you need elders to pray, and you need elders as editors. They've been there, done that, to help you navigate and help you decide which stories you are going to go after and not. And you have to figure out a creative way to tell the story so you don't become the story. So I'm going to respond to this thing. The video might be 20, 30 minutes. I really don't care at this point. I got attitude because I am convinced people are ready for the Antichrist. They're setting up something right in front of us and many people can't even see it. Some of y'all saw it. I read all the chats last night. I stayed up to 3 o'clock in the morning. You can see it. Googling people back. People was in the comment section, and I was hitting them back because I was studying. I listened to my video last night after I went through six hours of anguish yesterday, and finally just crying out to God, hot tears, saying, God, I wrestled with my conscience to do this story, to warn Nick and to warn you. The devil is so slick. He's so slick. He's so slick. So this is going to be all over the place. I'm letting you know now, but I'm just going to go with it. I have a conscience. When I met Nick at the DNC last year, his mother accompanied him. I love his mother. I said it in other videos. I don't know where it's at. I do so many videos. I'm not going to take the time to research, but I've said it before and I'm saying it now. I cared about Nick like a son, but his mother has a sweet, beautiful spirit. I don't know her. Meeting a person once or twice, you don't get to know him. But I was impressed upon it. It touched my heart. And so when I saw her son crisscrossing the world, I knew. Eventually I had to say something. People don't understand this business. And even those who have been in the business 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you can still not know it. Because it depends on what you encounter when you become a journalist. And what gets me about some of these comments is that people don't sit up here and their mind don't go in retrospect to international journalists who come up missing or something happens to them. People get amnesia. I could go down the row of American journalists who have asked certain questions, especially about secret societies. Now they're no longer with us. But the first thing you can tell me is that I'm jealous. I'm trying to warn. And I'm trying to make sure you all don't get so caught up in following Nick Shervin. Woo! That you don't see the bigger picture. And so I'm going to show you what I can. That's why I stayed up late last night, to show you the bigger picture. I never said I helped him break the story about the fraud, waste, and abuse in Minnesota. What I said is that I come to warn. There were people before him who were breaking the story, people on different levels and in different fields in Minnesota. They brought the charts, they brought the stats, they brought the evidence, but the evidence fell on deaf ears. Do you understand? You have to ask yourself why. And now Nick steps in, and because he has a big following, now it reaches millions. That's when I stepped in and said, stop. This ain't your fight, brother. This thing is so deep. So I'm just going to say this. I'll probably never talk about it again. But I got a conscience. I met his mother. When a man meets the mother of someone who's doing what he's doing, you feel people. Don't ever get to the point where you don't feel. That's when you lose context with life. I met his mother. I didn't say his brother. I don't know if he has a brother. I said I met his mother. Do you understand? That's his very heart and soul. And so I have to speak to him as an elder who was his age out there doing that thing. This was the best and biggest secret of my day. But God had me on a path, and he had to make sure I didn't get too out in front of the thing. But big people knew about it, that I went to and asked them the question once I found out. They got real quiet. That's power. But they put it right in your face. Hulk Hogan had NWO on him for wrestling all those years. And y'all never asked one question. The majority of y'all never asked one question. But I knew. I know the web that was being set. What's going on in Minnesota is the great granddaddy of the New World Order. And I'm going to show you how it all connects. I informed you guys to study Gary Webb. Study Gary Webb. In 1996, read the book, Dark Alliance. The AIC, the AIC backwards. Okay? They were involved with the cocoa. From one part of the world to South Central LA in the 80s. A lot of poor people, especially black, the majority of blacks, got hooked on the cocoa. Died, went to prison, lost their homes, lost their family, lost their lives. You're not going to like this next statement, but the devil reads the Bible. And put it in the chat if you heard this before. It's going to be bizarre, but I heard about it in my 20s. A lot of people believe the Bible was tampered with, that it's written in reverse, that Jesus is about to die, that he didn't die. And so in this mixed up world with mixed up information, people believe the Bible was written backwards, and the story of Jesus will be fulfilled in the last days. That the connection is to kill off all those black people back in the 70s with the cocoa, or mess up the womb of the woman of black people in the future. They was after Jesus. You can call me crazy. I'll read the comments, I guess, in a couple of days. Right now I'm getting by on 5 hours sleep. I want you to understand how they think. I'm not telling you how to think, and I'm not saying this is how I think. But a lot of people are going to put in the chat, oh, he said this, oh, he said. You don't listen. You hear what you want to hear because you want a superhero. Because you know our media is what Trump said years ago, fake news. But suppose he's part of that. See, y'all don't understand. Reading the snake poem. Suppose he's the snake. You want so much to fix this country. And I get it. I showed you my pictures. At 17, I celebrated the bicentennial. I got my room decorated with the red, white, and blue. Let me show you again. If there's anybody who loves the country, I do. My room was set up as the bicentennial. Look at the date. That's red, white, and blue. That's Abraham Lincoln. I'm 17 years old. Look at me. I'm 17. Patriotic as hell. I got a calling, y'all. I got a calling. Wake the hell up. I'm chosen. You think it's easy? It ain't easy. But before I would err and not do my job and not do my purpose, God had people contact me and say, leave this story alone. Leave it alone. Not now. This is Bible prophecy. We want a hero so bad, we think, oh, let them get out there and solve. They ain't solving no problems. They're the problem. Governor Walz ain't stupid. Kamala Harris ain't stupid to choose him. She wasn't supposed to be president. She's coming after the fact. It was all set up. Obama, Trump, Biden, not Trump again, then her, then Obama. That's the sequence. I know the game. There are folks out here who interpret the Bible the opposite way. They believe Jesus is black. They believe Jesus is black. And they're after him. This is one of the main reasons. Now, let me break this thing down. This was in Nicaragua. There was a war. There was overthrow of the government back in the day. United States was involved with the Contras. The Contras was going after the Sandinistas. It was a fight for that government. Congress allocated $19 million to Ronald Reagan to fight so they could get control and stabilize that area, that area of the world. You got to do the homework. I'm going to lead you to the water. Allegedly, they ran out of money to help fight the war over there. So, Gary Webb, who I told you guys to research, a journalist, Gary Webb, he received a letter from a lady whose boyfriend was in jail for the cocoa or for the whatever substance it was. So he did the research. In doing the research on the case of her boyfriend in prison, what happened is that he was in prison and they take your cars, they take your money, they take your homes. That was a law passed during that period. Do you understand? So Gary Webb, a journalist, was investigating. As he was investigating, that's when he found out about the cocoa being brought from overseas, from Nicaragua, to the streets of South Central LA. You understand? Because Congress wouldn't allocate no more money to help the United States government fight overseas. So the way they get the money was to sell the cocoa. They brought the cocoa from overseas to here. And people like Freeway, Ricky Ross, and people like that were selling it. Not to just pick on him, was a whole line of people. Got to do the homework. And they made millions, if not billions of dollars. Watch the documentaries. Then they took that money to buy what they needed to fight overseas. I never believed that story. It was probably true to a certain extent. So they told America, look, Ronald Reagan, our government, they was fighting a WAR over there. They needed money. Congress wouldn't give them no more money. Okay, so now we're gonna find a way to make some money. So we're gonna bring the cocoa over here, sell it, and it killed off a whole lot of black people, a whole lot of white people, a whole lot of Hispanic people. But yet a lot of other folks is making millions of dollars. That's why you got cocoa babies in the womb, messed up A&D. What is A&D backwards in your body? They came out with messed up A&D for generations. They was trying to kill Christ in their mind. They was trying to kill Jesus. It's deeper than Nick Shervin. They were trying to kill Christ. They think he's black. They think he's black. They were on a heroic mission, allegedly. This is what people believe. So Gary Webb, he ran into the story by accident. Even the newspaper he was with turned their back on him. All the newspapers turned their back on him. Then later on, they found out what he was saying was true. And our government admitted to a certain point that it was true. That our government, this red, white, and blue, she's a harlot. I told y'all, listen to my videos. America wasn't built for you. She's a whore. They don't give a damn about us. Never have, never will. America was founded for the one world system and the future of the 1%. They got a plan within a plan. That's why nothing works for us long term. It's all about them and the shaping of the NWO, in which I had no idea when I was a child what the hell was going on. And if you think the Somalians in Minnesota, if you think that story don't reflect what happened back in the day, you need a head assignment. Because a lot of the money that was supposed to go toward health care and everything else full of Somalians and daycare schools with nobody in them. And again, I didn't say Nick Shervin broke the story. He broke it wide open because he's big. So I'm telling him to be careful because he don't know what he stepped into. And now y'all want to beat the hell out of me. He don't know what he's dealing with. You heard about the rumors and the allegations. The money that was sent to Minnesota, a lot of it they say got sent overseas, and it helped certain bad people, rebels and stuff like that. You heard about it. And then some of that money was funneled back from overseas, back allegedly to Tim Walz's campaign. You don't see the similarities between Gary Webb and what was going on back in the day with Ronald Reagan and now? And you gonna tell me? I lived during that period. You can't tell me nothing. Wait till I break it down. Governor Walz was in the Army. Do the Google research. How many years did Governor Walz spend in the Army? He was in the National Guard. Governor Walz was in the National Guard for 24 years. Governor Tim Walz served in the Army National Guard for 24 years. His military service spanned from 1981 to 2005. If you think this man doesn't understand an international assignment and a concept that's happening in his own state, you need a head check. If anybody could identify what the hell was going on, he could. I told you it was certain connections back in the day with our government overseas. Don't that sound like military setup or interaction or AIC? AIC backwards? So caught up in movies, people can't see a damn thing. Can't see nothing. You think Governor Walz is stupid? He ain't got no choice in the matter. This is the NWO at work. And I'm going to break it down. And you got to be careful about who you follow on this YouTube. Because at some point when you get big, I don't care whether it's music or journalism or whatever, the way Satan got this world set up, when you grow that quick, you get a knock on the door sooner or later. And they come and telling you, hey, you know what? We're the ones that open the doors for you to do what you're doing. You owe me. You don't have to believe me. You ain't got to believe Jack, I say. We're going to need a spirit of discernment. I question a lot of videos that he done. And I'm not saying he's in on it. But how do you know what he's covering isn't already set up to give the impression to us what the hell is really going on? In other words, it's a bold-faced lie. He's just covering a story. Do you really think he's got discernment to see what the hell he know what he's talking about? Do you really think at 23 you know the world? He's crisscrossing the world. He doesn't have an organization of 60 and 70-year-old elders and editors telling him what he's doing. Do you understand? You need seasoned people around you in this business. You can do local stories, but you can't do international stories at 23 years old and know what the hell you're doing. It's impossible. I don't care if you got a PhD in it. You got to experience this thing, and you got to look at it through the eyes and perspective of people who've been there and done it. There is a big Muslim population in Minnesota. And America has had a sweetheart deal between Muslims and America, going back even beyond, but it was established by Henry Kissinger under your born-again president, Jimmy Carter, in 1974. I'm gonna say it again. America has had a long-standing relationship with the Muslim community since 1974. Dr. Henry Kissinger, he set it up under your born-again president, Jimmy Carter. Who did Trump go see overseas? Didn't he go to Saudi Arabia? Are they not Muslim? I'm gonna break the whole thing down. They're one of the fastest growing groups in the United States. Muslims are the fastest growing group in the United States and in religious circles as well. They're driven by high birth rates. The USA does census. They knew they were growing. America does a census, and you know it. They know this group was growing in America. In Saudi Arabia, 93% of the total population is Muslim. Again, did Trump not go to Saudi Arabia? Did Saudi Arabia not come to the White House? One of the few places that Trump went to? Think about what I'm saying. We have an international king in Saudi Arabia. Nothing but respect for him. It's bigger than Nick Shervin. Y'all just don't know. At least some of y'all don't know. Somali Muslims, Saudi Arabian Muslims are very close. I'm going to say it again. Somali Muslims and Saudi Arabian Muslims are very close due to their shared Sunni Islam. Now, let me go down my row of information. You got to read about Gary Webb. Go on. I will put a video in the description which tells you about Gary Webb so you can learn. So you can see the similarities between then and now. I hope I explained it. The core of the petrodollar system established in 1974 US-Saudi deal was exactly that. Saudi Arabia, Muslim, would price its oil in US dollars and invested massive oil revenue into US Treasury bonds in exchange for American military security and aid, creating a strong, stable demand for dollars and benefiting U.S. borrowing. This informed pact, cemented after the collapse of the gold standard, helped solidify the dollar as the global reserve currency, though the official 50-year agreement reportedly expired in mid-2024 under Joe Biden, which I did a video on it, signaling shift in the geopolitical landscape. So I'm gonna read it again. I typed in, Saudi Arabia historically cut a deal with America. We bought their oil and they bought our bonds, the petrodollar. Freeze it and read it. Understand the history of the country that you live in. America was never meant for you. We are a global country. We never had a president. Never, ever. We had an international leader working toward the one world system. And everyone who tried to make America great again, that's why you can go back and check your history. The first 3 out of 5 US presidents died on July 4th. Let that sink in. Evidently, they was off the rails and they weren't following the script toward this. The monies that were coming over, the monies that were given to Somalians here in Minnesota, allegedly went back overseas, helped them fight a WAR, and some of that money bounced back over here. That's not my words. That's what's being reported. It's like the reverse of what the hell happened with the cocoa back in the day. But we don't know history. We just want to beat up on the messenger. What the hell are you beating up on me for? The core of the petrodollar system. We got a petrodollar. Established in 1974, US-Saudi deal was exactly that. Saudi Arabia would price its oil in US dollars and invest its massive oil revenue into US Treasury bonds. In other words, America had a relationship set up by Henry Kissinger under Jimmy Carter called the petrodollar. And the reason why our country was strong, because we bought their oil and they bought our bonds. In other words, they bought our debt. We got a relationship over 50 years. And this is why I theorize. They just doing business, baby. When money allegedly comes from Muslim countries back over here, or Muslims are getting away with stuff over here in America, that's a relationship that goes beyond the Constitution and the law and everything else that you and I wouldn't actually think of. Do you understand? This is a global move. They're setting up a one world system. That's why America the last 30, 40 years, you don't know who's who in the country. Because you got a melting pot. They churned it up way before Biden. And then once Biden was in there, you saw him come across the border. That is a variety of type of people. Why do you think they got so many people over here now of different ethnicities and cultures? Because that's the NWO plan. That's the plan. And some of them just get better treatment than others. And what I'm telling you is I believe this is what's going on in Minnesota. Because there's always been a Muslim relationship that they're showing the hell ain't gonna tell you about. Somalian Muslims and Saudi Arabian Muslims are very close due to shared Sunni Islam. And you want to check out a guy and learn about this oil thing? I taught y'all about him in my last channel. Look him up. He's dead now, but God bless him. Pastor Lindsay, and watch this video right here. Teach you about the oil. He was a chaplain for the oil companies, and he saw things that you're not going to hear on nationwide TV. You're not going to hear about it. God put him in a place. They got more oil. You can check. The whole oil thing is crafted. The so-called energy crisis we had during Jimmy Carter, when they said we was out of oil, all that was a lie. We got plenty of oil. Every crisis economically in America has been controlled, including the Depression, including the '08 crisis. It's to keep your butt down here as they expand. And if you hadn't noticed, this is coming back. Why the hell you think it was foggy the last 4 days? Now it's on the internet, and some content creators can talk about it because folks run around, But y'all tell me I'm crazy. Okay? Look up Pastor Lindsay. Now, it's already been 36 minutes, so maybe I'll just stop it right there. I guess I've said enough. There is a relationship between certain groups in America. That's why certain things, you don't hear nothing, see nothing, or hear or say nothing. That's why Minnesota, all that was allowed to happen because America has a plan. And that's going to stretch out into all 50 states. It's just not going to be, whatever they do, it's going to affect all 50 states, and it is. I'm sure they got Muslims in every state making moves right under your nose, because America has had relationships with certain people for decades, for generations. And if you just watch, you can figure it out. So when it comes down to Nick Shirley, I warned. He dipped his toes in something that has a historical thing. This Minnesota thing is the grandfather of this. And one aspect of the New World Order is to make America non-white. Non-white. Only certain whites will have power. Technically in tech. Majority, and that's it. America never cared about white, black, Mexican, men, women, whatever. Those were just wedge issues they used. Keep us distracted while they build the international order. Now they're so blatant with it. And if you think Governor Walz and everybody else, you think they dumb? They ain't dumb. It's bigger than them. If all the major networks didn't get involved in blowing this story wide open like it has through Nick Shirley, that should be your message right there. It was a hands-off policy. If you think Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz just to be choosing him, they do future past. She wasn't supposed to win. He's ex-military. He's ex-military. You think he don't read and understand what's happening around him? He's not governing anything. He knows when to get in there and get out. And now he's responding with rules. And I'm trying to teach y'all the rules, but a lot of y'all gonna get in the comment section and say I'm hating, I'm jealous. Leave that young boy alone. We need a patriotic young boy or girl to get out here and reveal all this crap. Please. You want a Clint Eastwood? Arnold Schwarzenegger? Rocky? Adrian? You grew up on crap. Ain't no such thing. Ain't no damn heroes here. They're in your household. Look at your mom and daddy. That's your hero. Not this fictitious crap out here they've been spoon feeding y'all since July 4th, 1776. It's all a lie. You read your Bible and don't understand it. Then God sends someone precious like me to try to open your eyes, and you crucify me. And yes, they do believe that Jesus is coming. So they let the cocoa come over because they think you black. And they've been keeping blacks down ever since because that's what they believe. I've known about this since I was 20, since in my early 20s. People who rule the world, they believe he's black, that he's coming, and he's going to walk amongst us. And we're going to have to one day choose between the Antichrist and him. That's what they believe, so they're trying to kill him. You can call me crazy. I'm not crazy. This is my journey. This is what I've heard. What do I believe? I'm wearing what I believe. He bled, died, and rose again. Please accept it. I'm not going to debate this, what I'm doing. I'm trying to warn. Because in this business, it's just like entertainment. How many entertainers have been hurt, family members messed up, family members gone? You get a knock on the door at some point when you get real big, real quick. And now you owe them. That's the reality, baby. And it ain't changing no time soon. I hope I made myself clear. But again, some of y'all gonna think I'm hating. You'll see. We might not see it in this life, but once we get to heaven, we'll be like, damn, Pearson was right. Go check out Gary Webb. Meditate and ask yourself, could America have stopped this situation in Minnesota? Hell yeah, they could have stopped it. So why didn't they? I just told you, it ain't America. We're part of a global assignment. The NWO is real. And thank God I have elders around me to reel me back in and say, young boy, you own to something, but this ain't your fight. Leave it alone, Pearson. Leave it alone. It's part of Bible prophecy. Your best hero, especially right now in the last days, your assignment is to get right, stay right, get ready for the flight. And let other folks know that Jesus is coming. That's your assignment. I ain't saying ignore every little thing, but you don't get to barking up every tree. And don't give me that crap about, well, you can go by faith and the Lord will protect you. Don't be naive. Don't be naive. God will protect you, but he'll give you common sense too. Use it!